Mr. Carrington, congratulations! You and your wife have won a share in the Powerball lottery. We need to make arrangements to meet with both of you so that we can present you with the money.
Well, my wife is not with us.
Oh, when will she be available?
Well, regrettably never. She's in hell.
Oh, my. Are you sure?
Yep, I'm sure. The preacher came by the hospital and explained her options. She said she didn't care one way or the other. We know where she went.
Mr. Carrington, our condolences. You seem quite accepting of the situation.
Well, yes, I suppose I am. Our last few years have been pretty trying.
Mr. Carrington, my name is Sue Ellen, and part of my responsibilities here is counseling lottery winners. As you may know, quite often lottery winners find themselves in financial situations within a few years. I have some time available today. Would you like to share some of your grief?
That's a very kind offer. I really haven't had anybody to talk to. I have so many pent-up emotions, so many regrets.
Please go ahead with whatever's on your mind. You're one of us now, and I'm here for you.
The problems began when I joined the animal rights group and became aware of what happens on those factory farms. As I became more aware, I was struck by the irony that the end result of all this torture and environmental damage is compromised health from those who eat the foods from those places.
Yes, I have seen videos on YouTube of supposedly taken in some of those places. It's so awful. I have a hard time believing that that's happening.
Sue Ellen, it's worse than you know, and it's spiraling downward. I'm grieving more about all of this than from my wife's early death, honestly. And the other irony is she died from her food addiction caused by our new abundance of animal products. I mean, her death was totally from preventable causes. She kept eating animal food, processed food, and gaining weight. I told her it would kill her, and she just didn't care.
How did she die?
I can show you. University Hospital asked if she wanted to donate her body to science. I told her they'd cut her up into pieces. She said she didn't care.
Oh my gosh. Oh, goodness. Ooh. Oh dear. Oh my. Mr. Carrington, thanks for all this. I myself am overweight, and you've really got my attention on this. What else have you learned that you can share?
First, don't feel badly. Overweight is not exactly a fault on your part. I've learned that food pushed on us today is quite addictive.
Tell me about it. I love food. I have all these cravings.
Yes, and current research shows that addiction resets our survival programming. We think it's necessary to have these substances. It can be alcohol, nicotine, narcotics, and certainly even certain foods.
What kind of foods? Like all the stuff I like? Soda, chips, mac and cheese, pasta, ramen, pizza?
Exactly. We call it the kids menu. There are all these high-calorie foods that trick us into thinking we're being more efficient with our food choices. A lot of calories without much effort. But, Sue Ellen, there is no free lunch. These foods are nutrient deficient. As with all addictions, we are not the people we could be.
Are you saying if we quit eating those addictive foods, we would feel better?
Most everyone who changes to plant-based food choices report feeling better and enjoying their jobs and life more. They just seem more productive.
Well, what about those foods that I mentioned? That's the only thing I can get my kids to eat. What about that?
The so-called kids menu, it's universal now. We are compromising their academic and athletic potentials when we allow them to be in charge of their own food choices, and parenting is all about guidance. We are supposed to guide our kids into happy, productive lives. Yet we feed them foods that diminish them physically and spiritually. We actually ask kids what they want to eat. I find this quite irresponsible.
I see, but if you have kids, you know how hard it is to break those addictions. TV, cell phones, video games, chips, snacks on the run.
Yes, I understand.
You mentioned spirituality. I see such a void today. How does that fit in with our junk food lives?
Sue Ellen, I'd be happy to share my research and opinions with you. It might take a moment.
I'm all ears.
I wish my wife would have listened. I call it the Auschwitz syndrome. When man dehumanizes other men, then we assume permission to administer inhumane treatment. We are not born this way. Small children are not racist. They love and accept all life as equal, and they must be taught otherwise.
You mean we have to teach our children to be cruel?
Exactly. And it all starts from day one of their lives. First, our kids have to be safe. Then they have to have adequate shelter. And then they have to have something to eat. This will keep them alive. This is the basics for life. This is physical survival.
I understand this. What about spirituality?
Sue Ellen, you may think you understand. The problem we face is like the elephant in the room that we cannot see. That's why my wife kept saying she did not care. Why smokers look at a diseased lung and keep right on smoking. The refined flour, the oil, the salty, crunchy crust, the opioids in the cheese, we can't tell them that this food is bad for their physical and mental or spiritual health. These foods cause cravings that are unnatural.
Unnatural? What's unnatural about pizza?
There is not a pizza tree, nor is there a pizza garden. This is about priorities. Addictive foods cause us to think about food, to treat it as an entertainment, to be eaten for pleasure, to eat lots of varieties. Food is actually a sacrament. We need to understand this before we can enter it into higher levels of spirituality, to honor our Creator. Instead, we make Ronald McDonald a god form. He is our deliverer.
Ronald McDonald is a god?
Yep, he and the Colonel bring pleasure into our daily life. Their addictive foods are a lot easier than the discipline required to live in gratitude for our miracles of life and care for our bodies. Sue Ellen, this skews our perception of the meaning of life and it compromises our spirituality.
And think of this. I think of the bucket. The bucket. I don't think of this. Well, I'm going to think of it now. Going to think of it now, that's for damn sure.
What about those animal things you said at the start of the conversation?
All part of the Auschwitz syndrome. We know what is happening to our animals, and as the Nazis invented ever more hideous forms of torture with each passing year, we are doing the same things inside those secret houses of horror. Like the citizens just outside the gates, we literally hide our eyes. Our addictions blind us. Halal killing is the cruelest of all. The pitiful beast must be aware it's dying. While the lessons of the Holocaust are clear, they are not adopted in our daily lives. It's all about addiction. Our brains are reprogrammed to think we need those foods. It's just the same as any other addiction. Sue Ellen, we assume a denial, a form of I don't care, and I don't care that I don't care. It means we can't internalize the facts before us. We can't internalize the truth. And this is how we raise our kids. and how we perpetuate the factory farm holocaust in our world today.
So much to think about. So much to learn to care about.
Just think about the irreversible tragedy of each death. Prevent one death. Go meatless for one day at a time. Learn to care for your body. Respect yourself by not eating foods that will kill you as surely as they killed my wife.
I heard our lifespans are actually getting shorter.
That is true. Even with all the medical miracles our chemists who turned into doctors provide. The Holocaust brought early deaths to 11 million people. Today, animal and junk foods kill 11 million people every year, and no one cares. Almost everyone is addicted to high-calorie, low-nutrient foods. It's an addictive denial in its highest sense. This is how my wife would say, "I don't care." She had a food addiction, and she just couldn't reason. Not about religion, self-care, self-respect, and certainly not about our environment and our fellow creatures.
What can we do?
Sue Ellen, the very first step is awareness. We need to let people look over that high fence that government and industry has erected to protect their despicable paradigm. We need to make a better world for our children. That's why we made this video.